Hey everybody and welcome back to Semi Stories. Today we got a crazy story from r/BestOf Redditor updates where OP's wife and her best friend accused him of having an affair and then got angry when he didn't. I, 31 male, and my wife, 29 female, had a baby last December. It was a traumatic birth and my wife developed postpartum depression. While she was originally going back to work after the birth, she's been struggling enough that we decided to wait until our daughter was a year old and reassess. She has been going to therapy weekly, with my wife home full-time. I've had to work increased hours. This is something we discussed prior to making this decision and she knew this from the start. A few weeks ago my boss approached me about a project that would require a lot of overtime in a short amount of time. It would both be great financially and for my career. I talked to my wife about it and she agreed that I should say yes to my boss. For the 4 weeks I'd be working on this, my mother-in-law and her best friend, Jessie, 29 female, her name is changed, would come help out with some of the duties that I typically do. Jessie is a stay-at-home mom with a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old. She began coming over during the day and would watch the kids with my wife. 3 weeks into the project, it became clear that we'd need a few more weeks to get it together. I went home that night and talked to my wife about it. She said she was okay with it, but got very cold in the days after. It wasn't unusual behavior over the past few months, so I didn't think much about it and tried to not take it personally. During the last week of the project, I got home one night and saw that Jessie was still at the house. I didn't think much about it. I said hi to her and my wife and then went up to go check on our daughter. Before I could get to her room, I heard Jessie say something along the lines of, "He doesn't even stop to greet you. Definitely a sign." I turned around and asked what it was a sign of. Immediately, my wife started crying and Jessie started accusing me of having an affair. She told me that I must hate my wife because she has PPD and I'm not attracted to her because she gained weight from the pregnancy. Neither of these things are true. I'm trying my best to help my wife through her PPD while supporting our family, and I think she looks great how she is right now. She just hasn't wanted to have sex and I haven't pushed. Jessie then demanded to see my phone. I told her no. She told me that's a sign that I'm guilty. I told my wife that I would let her see through my phone if she wanted to. She nodded and something inside me broke. I guess it was the thought that she actually believed I was having an affair that really got to me, and that she didn't trust me after everything we've been through. Well, she looked through the phone and there was no evidence. Jessie started saying that I deleted the evidence. She started screaming and woke up our daughter, so I told her to get out of the house. Eventually she left and I went to calm our daughter since my wife was still on the couch crying. When my daughter was asleep again, I sat down by my wife and tried to talk to her about what's happening. She told me that she'd been worried ever since I started working all the overtime. I told her that we'd talk about how good of an opportunity it was and she agreed to let me take on this project. She said it was very suspicious to increase the length of the project. I told her that sometimes happens. She wanted more evidence, so I showed her messages and emails with timestamps from work and pay stubs showing the overtime. She said she believed me and was sorry for doubting me. It was just that Jessie had been telling her that these were all signs that I was cheating. I asked her why she believed Jessie more than me, and why she didn't come to me with her concerns. She didn't really have an answer. It's been a couple of weeks and the project is over. I actually scaled back and I'm trying to work a little less than I was before the project so I can spend more time with my wife and daughter. But I feel so burnt out trying to do everything and becoming resentful because in the back of my mind, I know that my wife doesn't trust me. I ask myself, what happens the next time I have a project? Or if I have to run errands one day? Or if I have a business trip? Am I going to come back every time to accusations that I'm cheating? I've tried bringing it up a couple times, but my wife tells me it's not the time or that she's tired or sad. I try to be mindful of her feelings, but I wonder if that means that I can never have any of my own. I'm not sure what to do here. Any advice for how I can move forward? OP then posted the first update. Thank you to everyone for all the advice and support on my previous post. I think a lot of you pointed out what should have been obvious, that I needed to get a therapist and start looking after my own mental health. A couple people asked for an update, so I'm giving one, but it's not happy. That night I approached my wife and told her that I was going to find a therapist. I didn't connect it to her accusations or anything, just said that I was having a tough time and needed therapy. She shrugged and told me to do whatever. The next day I come home from work and our room and my home office were ripped apart. Things were everywhere, important papers scattered. I don't see her, but our daughter's in her room crying. My wife left her alone. Her cell phone's off, and I call my in-laws and a few friends, but no one's seen her. I'm starting to get worried, and I called my mom to see if she can babysit while I go out and look for her. Before my mom can get home, my wife gets back. Jessie's driving. Jessie doesn't come in. She hasn't been back into the house since I kicked her out because she was offended by my behavior, but my wife does. She's clearly upset, been crying. I asked what happened. I thought at first the house might have been robbed. She starts screaming at me that I'm being unfaithful and that the therapy is a front so I can meet my mistress. I try to calm her down and tell her that's not true, but she came at me and she hit me. My nose is broken. She kind of realized what she did and sat down on the couch and went comatose, just stared at the wall. I went into my daughter's room and locked the door. Called my mom to tell her what happened, she was already on her way, and my mother-in-law to ask her to come over and take care of my wife. I packed a bag for my daughter, and when my mom got there, we left. My wife didn't even look up. We dropped my daughter off with my dad and then went to urgent care for my nose. I got blood all over my mom's new Subaru. My daughter and I are staying with my parents for a while, and my wife's staying with hers. I am looking into getting a restraining order against Jessie. My wife and I are separating. I love her, but I won't live with someone who hurts me and who could potentially hurt our daughter. I'm not going forward with a divorce yet, with the hopes that my wife will get the treatment she needs and we can work things out. My in-laws told me that they're looking at an inpatient treatment at a local hospital, but I also have everything well documented in case of an eventual custody battle. My heart's broken because I know this isn't my wife. This is a sickness in her mind. But I need to keep myself and our daughter safe and give her the space to recover. I hope that this is the right decision. Thanks again, everyone. Opie then posted this final, quite sad update. My wife passed on early Monday morning. Convinced by her friend Jessie that I was having an affair that I did not have, she had a mental break, which resulted in my taking our infant daughter and staying with my parents for a while. She was with her parents, who planned on taking her to the hospital for an inpatient treatment on Monday. On Sunday night, she came to my parents' house and demanded I give her our daughter. Because she had her left alone for hours the last time she was responsible for her and had gotten physical with me, I refused. I offered to let her come in and spend time with her while my parents and I were present, but she didn't want to come in and wanted to take our daughter with her. She was upset, but left eventually. A few hours later, she drove her parents' car into a tree and died. The friend, Jessie, came to see my daughter and me yesterday. After some tears, she told me that she was planning to speak at my wife's funeral. She had already cleared it with my in-laws, but was letting me know as a courtesy. I told her she would not be speaking at the funeral. We fought and she left after telling me that I was an a-hole and not the only person who loved my wife. I talked to my in-laws, who are adamant that Jessie be allowed to speak. She and my wife knew each other since they were kids, and my in-laws are close to her. We're all very fragile right now, and I fear that pushing this further would hurt my relationship with my in-laws, which I don't want. Still, the thought of seeing Jessie up there at my wife's funeral makes me feel sick. I don't think I can stand to listen to her, knowing that she took joy in my wife's deteriorating mental health and picked up my wife, leaving my daughter home alone. That being said, I don't trust myself to make the best decisions right now. My mind's clouded with grief, guilt, and fear. My parents are split on what to do, and I don't have the energy to reach out to my friends, so I'm coming here again to ask for advice. Thank you. A commenter asked if the in-laws knew what went down, and OP responded the following. They do, to an extent. They know she accused me of having an affair and was with my wife while our daughter was alone. I don't think they understand the extent it went on. They said that they didn't really want to hear anything about it, since they already lost their daughter and don't want to lose Jessie too. Well, what a sad and tragic ending to this story. I can't help but personally feel an extreme amount of hatred towards this Jessie. People like that crave drama and love creating situations that are detrimental to other people's health, but they don't think twice. Did she anticipate this extreme outcome for the wife? No, of course not. but her inability to see the clear signs of depression and the mental state the wife was in after the birth is still inexcusable. And considering she is a childhood friend that's been with the family for such a long time, how could she not have known what was happening? With concerns to handling the funeral and letting her speak, I think OP should stand his ground. Yes, losing the in-laws would be even more tragic, especially for the daughter, but letting them accept the woman who was, in the end, responsible for the death of their daughter would do nobody any good. On the original post, many people seem to gravitate towards the following comment by Eclectic Victuals, and I 100% agree with them. OP, I would just tell them, this woman ruined my marriage, and her actions caused my wife's death and the loss of the mother of my child. I don't care what you want or what you think. I'm very sorry that your daughter died, but Jessie's behavior led directly to it. She is not welcome at the funeral. She is certainly not going to speak at my wife's effing funeral when she interfered with my family. And if you don't want to be there, that's your choice. But she will not be there, and she will not speak. She was my wife first, and I will decide. Further, if you want to continue a relationship with my child, you will commit in writing and with monitored visits that you will not have Jessie anywhere near my child. And if you can't make that commitment, or if I don't trust that you can, you will not have a relationship with my child. This is a tragedy that was avoidable and it was stoked on by this sick woman, and I will not tolerate any further discussion. This isn't about your grief. This is about an injury, a crime that was committed against my wife and my family, and I will not sit by to protect your feelings when you apparently care nothing about mine. Just man up. Even though everyone's fragile, there are more important things in my opinion than your relationship with your in-laws if they can't recognize what happened to you being visited by Jessie. She can't come in and tell you as a courtesy, and it isn't your in-law's funeral. It's yours, because you should be the one putting it on as it is your wife. And I would just ask your in-laws, you can make whatever decision you want, but just understand that I was worried about hurting my relationship with you, but you should be more worried about hurting your relationship with me. I did not do anything wrong. This outsider came in and instead of helping my wife, hurt her, and turned her into something that she never was. Because personally, OP, I think it will be intolerable for you to go to a funeral and listen to this woman and speak her crocodile BS. And it would also be intolerable for you to not go to the funeral. So, I would just tell your in-laws, this is very uncomfortable for me and I don't really care about your relationship with Jessie, that's your business. But not at my wife's funeral. I don't give a crap. You can argue, but you are making a decision, so tell me what your decision is for our future. Also, hire a lawyer now to deal with custody, because they are going to go after grandparents' rights and you need to make sure that you protect yourself and your child from them and Jessie. This is not over. Yes, the comment is extremely harsh, but it has to be said. Especially because this is not just OP's future he's talking about, but also the future of his daughter. Well, I'm really curious what you guys think, so be sure to let me know down in the comments. If despite how sad it was, you enjoyed this story and would like to hear more, please like and subscribe as it helps out a lot. I will see you guys next time. See ya.